It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
It's time for this week's cup of coffee, and look who is back from vacation.
So like my tan? I got a Florida tan here, baby.
And he timed it perfect because all the snow is melted. We're going to talk about the last snowstorm over the weekend, the end of last week, plus the polar plunge record setting, and we're hoping winter is behind us. But with that winter storm came some great sights, courtesy of Daniel Carnahan's Skyview Photography. Plus, new segment each week, Let's Talk. We're going to rate President Trump's first 30 days back in office, and it's almost March, which means March Madness.
It's coming.
We're going to talk high school basketball and college basketball. Plus, hey, Mizzou's winning a national championship, right?
Well, they got a good team. I'm not sure they're going to win it all, but they're good.
We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on this week's Cup of Coffee. But first, this from Slumberland at the Lake.
Hey everybody, it's Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We have the last days of our President's Sale going on, so you need to come check out all the great deals. We're going to give you big discounts along with free financing for up to 36 months. And if you're choosing a Tempur-Pedic or Stearns & Foster, that financing can go all the way to 60 months interest free. So you need to come check out the President's Day sale, Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
All right, hey, we are back, and you are back from vacation after, what was it, like 6 months it felt like?
Yeah, no, it felt like a day. I was actually there for about 2 weeks, and it was gorgeous, 80 degrees every day we were there.
Where'd you go? Tell everybody where you went.
We have a place we really like in the Tampa-St. Pete area. It's on a place called Treasure Island. So yeah, we just went down to the beach, a lot, and we're right on the beach, so sometimes we just, be on the patio, and you got the view of the Gulf of America right out there in front of you, is greatness. So yeah, we had a lot of fun. Good to just get away sometimes and, let go of the stress and all that good stuff.
So what are your normal practices or hobbies and habits when you're on vacation? If you're on the beach, do you read? Do you guys like to go shopping? Do you guys gamble? So what is the vacation time?
Mostly reading, yeah. If we're down on the beach, both of us are usually reading. I love to walk along the beach, just right on the edge of the water. That's always fun and great and good for you, stuff like that. So that's the main thing. And then we'll go do some, like we went to St. Pete Pier. In Tampa, St. Pete, they're right there on the water. So St. Pete has a pier. We went out there, had a great restaurant bar. I actually ran into some people in the St. Pete Pier restaurant bar that watch Lake TV. They were like two tables over, and the lady comes over and says, "You look so familiar. Where are you from?" And I said, "Well, the Lake of the Ozarks." She's like, "Lake TV, right?" This is in Florida. It was like awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. It's amazing how far and wide people watch Lake TV.
That's always cool, super encouraging. When you texted that, I was like, hey, check this out, guys. This is really, really neat. So you guys had a good time. You got recognized while you were down there in St. Pete, and it is always good to get away. I was just kind of curious what you did, and I knew you probably weren't real into the shopping or gambling.
No. If Michelle wants to go shopping and I have to go with her, I sit out front, right, or something, and I tell her, take as long as you want, don't rush or anything, but man, I hate shopping.
Yeah.
So don't take me with you, I don't want to go. And it's come to be where she doesn't want me to be with her shopping because I'll rush her through it.
Sure.
Right, so, but we did have to come back a day early to beat the storm, right, because the way the storm was looking, we would have been either stuck in Florida, which would have been all right, or stuck somewhere on the way. So we left early to beat the storm in, and we just did beat the storm.
And when you did get back and you saw everything that ended up coming down, you were like, oh, I'm so glad to be home, right?
Well, the reason I came home early was because we had basketball games to do on Thursday, and I thought, well, I don't want to miss those. But those games were postponed anyway, so I could have stayed a day or two later. So,
And great doubleheader we ended up getting on Saturday. And we're going to talk about high school basketball, but I'm so glad to have you back. Wanted to give a shout out to Jeff Carr, who filled in a couple weeks ago, and then my buddy Chase Nicholas, who, we did the Skype version of coffee. Andrew stayed at my house Monday night.
Wow, because it was snowstorm, right? Yeah.
And so Tuesday was when you woke up to the craziness. all that snow. And so we recorded Cup of Coffee Remote. Andrew stayed at my house and edited it, and we still got it out. But I said, I'm so glad to be back to normal, and I'm hoping that all this weather is behind us. And if you saw over the weekend with some of the sights with the crazy snowstorm, was the polar plunge.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering, hey, is it going to take place? And if you saw,
Those people are crazy, man.
and the polar plunge now a year ago raised $99,500 with 281 plungers, which was record-setting for Lake of the Ozarks. And so a lot of questions about, man, this is going to be maybe the coldest plunge of all time. And we saw early Saturday morning a backhoe, right? A heavy machinery out there breaking up the ice on PB2 just so the plunge could take place. And at this point, I'm like, no, these people are absolutely crazy. And if the plunge itself, which, you know, is for Missouri Special Olympics, isn't crazy enough, you have what some are already familiar with, but super plungers.
Yeah.
Right?
That takes it to a whole new level. So these super plungers, they don't just run in the lake one time. They jump in usually 24 times in the 24 hours leading up to the...
Once per hour.
Yeah, once per hour. This year they did it 30 times because it's some special anniversary. So they did 30 plunges in 24 hours in this icy, crazy cold water, but they raised $142,000.
Just the super plungers.
Just the supers.
Raised over 40,000 more than the record setting before. And a few of those super plungers, you know, there is a plethora of them, but JT Geralt and Zach Paul, they have the great media race every year, right? That big competition. Now, Zach has since left KRCG TV as the chief meteorologist, and he is now with Missouri Special Olympics.
Oh, wow.
So they keep this battle going, right? And it was close. We'll give you results. And then here locally, we know of Chris Wagner with Farmers Insurance and Chief Todd Davis with the Osage Beach Police Department. They are always big in raising funds. And so 18 total super plungers raised, as you said, $142,000. If you're wondering of that media competition between JT and Zach, JT has won the last couple of years, and it was close this year. JT raised $32,000, whereas Zach Paul raised $31,700.
Wow.
So JT wins again, but narrowly. Also, some impressive totals. Chris Wagner, record setting for him, $17,000 he raised, and Chief Todd Davis just shy of $10,000. Pretty impressive. Just those four individuals right there, you know, raised nearly $90,000.
Incredible, man. And they earned it jumping in that icy water. You know, and I think I've talked to both Chris Wagner and JT Geralt about doing this. And, you know, do you get sick after you do this, jumping in the cold water and getting out and getting back in? And I think they've both told me the worst part about it is leading up, you know, thinking about what's coming and the tricks your mind plays on you and stuff like that. Man, good job, guys. That's amazing. You guys keep doing that.
Yeah, no doubt. I saw those guys and talked with Chris Wagner after the final plunge took place, and I asked him, at this point in time, you're good, right? And he said, yeah, that, you know, the hard part is that very first one, the day before, when you first start, you know, those 24 hours leading in, it's early. He goes, it's freezing cold. He goes, and this year especially cold. He goes, but after that first one, he was ready to go because it kind of shocks your system.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple other things. I talked with Crystal Schuster, who's the executive director, and total's still coming in, right? Money's still funneling in, but right now, $225,500 raised. Water temp, for those of you curious, 34 degrees.
Wow.
And if you saw, I'd never seen this before, you had your safety dive and rescue team.
Yeah.
You know, they're sitting on the ice where it wasn't broken up, and we actually saw up close and personal that ice was about 4 to 5 inches thick.
Wow.
And you can see here, some of those guys, those dive team that were in the water for safety reasons, you know, just to make sure everything went off without a hiccup, they were moving. Look how big some of those, like, essentially icebergs are. They're breaking up and trying to get out of the way. And then one other cool thing, I always love going out. I ran out after the expo, right, for a little bit. And want to give a shout out to the Pink Ponies. Saw one of my great friends from high school, Tanner Dean, along with Carla Lint, Allie Lint, Tanner's wife, Sydney, and their daughter, Jay Lee, Beth Kempker, Tony Scrivener, and Dawson Bird with the Pink Ponies. They were in full regalia, you see, there, and they jumped in. It's always cool seeing how many people come back, you know, for this big event.
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger. Last year, 100 grand raised. This year, double record setting, $225+
Wow.
$1,000. Pretty impressive. You want to get in just for
No, not going to happen. You know, I hadn't thought about it though, but you're right. Those, the divers, they put on the wetsuits and stuff like that to go try to move the ice out of the way. I hadn't thought about it, but that's pretty important. You know, you don't want people running in and, getting hurt on ice chunks that are out there.
Not just that, but when people jump in, and some people have their liquid confidence, or a little warm getting in there. Some people aren't exposed to the freezing cold. Your body can go into shock, which could cause you to not be able to move. And so, they've always had dive and rescue, but this year their responsibilities were a little heftier.
And you were telling me before the show you are like training to do this next year.
No, I've done this before.
Have you really?
Yeah, I did this a few years ago, and it was one-time wonder. Like one time was good enough, and now you can just write a check and cover it and be happy to support and help and bring the results. Also give a shout out to our friend Jason Whittle's team, All Pro Jason Whittle. Their whole crew was out there.
Amazing.
Troy Meyer was just back from vacation, all tan, just like you, in flip-flops, running in there. And I think he's now sick because of, doing the plunge. So shout out to those guys. And with that frozen ice, some people were like, did the lake freeze over anywhere else? Well, it absolutely did. Thursday morning, we had some cool drone, courtesy of Daniel Carnahan with Skyview Photography, who had all that drone at the Polar Plunge as well. You see that smoke and that steam coming off the lake. That was absolutely beautiful. Well, Friday morning, early in the morning, parts of the lake had actually frozen over, as you see here. And I just got to say, man, Daniel's everywhere.
He's so great. I love Daniel. It's, he's a part of the Lake TV family, and I've always thought that those drone shots are like the most beautiful shots that you see of almost anything from anywhere. It's like your doc series. Some of my the favorite shots for me on those are his drone shots, right? Or Andrew's drone shots, whoever's doing them. But I love those shots from the air. Remember in the old days, you couldn't do that. You had to have a helicopter to do that, right? Now you just send a drone up, baby.
And with that, Daniel, if you pick up the latest issue of LO Profile, you'll see an advertorial on him, a feature on Our Eyes from the Sky is Daniel Carnahan, Skyview Photography. And it's funny, now it's the Polar Plunge, that's where we had met. And that feature actually talks about how that relationship with Daniel and Lake TV started. So busy week for him. And, over the course of the last week, the guy's video has been viewed a couple of million times.
Yeah.
And he's out there probably shooting right now.
And he's the nicest, sweetest guy, the most loyal
and he's going
guy.
to love all of this because he loves being talked about and featured.
Don't we all, But and wonderful wife.
No, he doesn't. He absolutely
he is so cool.
Hates having his photo taken. It's like pulling teeth. And I sneak him.
He's not like us. We like love all the attention.
We love being in the spotlight. And now, hey, another local headline. These were a couple of sad ones. We see them all the time at house fires here around the lake, and it brought up a good question of, man, how are there so many house fires? We saw two more. Both stories come from KRMS, Thursday just before 6 p.m. and then Friday, the 21st at midnight, two house fires. And the first one, Thursday, the Moreau Fire District says they were called to Scribner Road, and upon arrival, the house was heavily engulfed in flames, and apparently one person died, and a firefighter suffered injuries in this fire.
Yeah, and they still don't know who the person who died. No identity has been released on that yet. That was in the Eldon fire. And so, these things are serious business, man.
And that's at time of recording Tuesday, of course. Now we record on Tuesday, so there may be an update. A firefighter, as we said, suffered non-critical injuries and was treated at the hospital. Aid was provided by Eldon, Lake Ozark, Rocky Mount, and Tuscumbia, and personnel was on the scene for approximately 5 hours. Now, the Friday one that took place approximately at midnight, the call came into Osage Beach from actually across the cove from the end of Sunset Drive. The person said they saw flames across the cove right around midnight, and it turns out it was apparently a large house that was under renovation.
Yeah, and you see that quite often, renovation fires, because something electrical goes haywire, or, something's left near a heater and it goes up in flames. So it's kind of heartbreaking that happens, but it does happen quite a bit. And kudos to the firefighters, because you don't usually think about it, but fighting a fire, which you think of as hot, when it is freezing cold outside is really, really difficult because the water is freezing. It's freezing on you as you're trying to work the fire. It's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even think of that either.
No, you don't.
Right, it's icy and cold outside. Well, the water's going to be freezing cold as well. The article from KRS turns out said that, as you alluded to, the weather conditions made efforts really tough with the response, and they were on hand for 4 hours initially, and then they were called back out a few hours later after the fire had rekindled. Luckily, no injuries were reported, and the state fire marshal's office has been called in to investigate the cause of the fire. But that's a great point. You never think about in the cold, like if a fire, a lot happen in winter. When there's snow, there's ice. Like that would be even more miserable than fighting a fire in itself.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and you think of a fire as, oh, it's hot, you're going to be hot. No, when it's freezing outside, it's just the opposite, because all that water and everything is freezing on you, as you try to put out the fire, and it's those
are the true unsung heroes. And in our communities are the fire departments and districts. And that I learned recently talking with Dave Kimker with Lindy Springs. He is the on the board at Rocky Mount, who was involved in that response. This was before this event had taken place, but he said that a lot of their staff are volunteers.
Yeah.
And a lot of these fire districts and departments rely heavily on volunteers. And you think about whether you're being paid or not. I mean, you're putting your life on the line every time you go. So kudos to our local fire departments. They probably don't get enough credit.
They don't get, but good job, thank you. And again, that's one of the areas why our community is so special. It's because you have so many volunteers in so many different ways and areas to help the community out.
Sure, no doubt about that. All right, so in our next news segment, we're bringing to a cup of coffee. It is Let's Talk. Our goal is to increase engagement with our viewers. We know a lot of you are out there, and we want your opinion. And so if you go to my Facebook page, we put out a weekly thread asking what your opinion is, and this week's topic on Let's Talk was, what do you think of President Donald Trump's first 30 days in office? Because about a week ago, it was officially about 30 days since he had taken office for the second time, and about 70% of the feedback, as you see here off my Facebook page, was they loved it, they were really happy with it, better than anticipated, and about 30% disapproved and were disgusted and had negative things to say. But I want to know, for those of you watching, what do you think about President Donald Trump's first 30 days back in office? And Uncle Chris, I would love to hear what you think of President Donald Trump's first 30 days back in office.
Okay, I'm a big Trump fan. I love the guy. He makes mistakes, and sometimes he's a little bit too much attention grabbing, I think. But that's a part of who he is. That's what has allowed him to get through all the difficulties over the last 12 years. I think those first 30 days in office for Trump were the greatest 30 days maybe of any president of the United States of America in the history of the country. But he went in, having been there before for 4 years. He knew how everything runs. He kind of, knows where the pitfalls are and stuff like that. And he's been planning this for 4 years, because he knew he was going to make a run at president, knew that he'd probably have a pretty good chance of winning. He's been planning what he was going to do for 4 years. And you could see that second he took the oath of office, he started putting everything in motion. And I love it. I love that he is not worried about what the media is saying. And the media is crumbling because it's been lying to people for the last, 50 years or whatever, but especially the last 8 years. So nobody's really listening to much of that. I just think it is incredible. I think he keeps going. I hope he keeps going. I love what Doge is doing. There is so much fraud and waste in our government that we're paying for that we don't know about. And they're starting to roll out billions and billions of dollars that are just going to waste, usually going to enemies of our country. We're paying our enemies to take us down.
Sure.
It's just amazing. I hope they keep it going 100% and not slow down. And I hope they find all these fake employees that aren't working.
Sure.
Get them out of there, fire them. Again, that's our tax dollars, right? I think it is great what he is doing. I love it.
And that is about 70% of the exact feedback.
And I think that's across the country too. It's a kind of a 70-30 thing, just like it is here.
Probably so. And it's been cool to see too, just because you knew that there was corruption, you knew there was money being mismanaged, but to see over those first 30 days, just some of the budget line items and amounts have been mind-boggling, and I know there's more to come. And then you look at some of the massive layoffs, and it's crazy to think that there could be retaliation that would be anti-America.
Yeah.
You know, that would potentially sell out the United States to foreign enemies.
So we just saw that story in the last 24 hours that Trump's government people, Trump's like CIA director, FBI director, they are worried that some of these America haters that have been in the government, in the CIA and FBI for so long, are, since they're mad at Trump, mad at the country, they are worried that these people are going to go out and sell our secrets to Russia and to other countries, enemies of America, China. And so I hope there's a plan to keep that from happening.
Sure, it'll be interesting, but there is no doubt that it already looks different. And over the next really 4 to 6 months, we'll start to see the side effects and some of those ramifications, good, bad, or indifferent.
What do you think?
I think going to be great. I think it's been hard to believe that this stuff had gone on for so long. And as it's uncovered, it's kind of even more shocking to see people just kind of ignore it and continue to focus on other things. And, it's wild, but I think President Trump's doing a great job.
I do too.
I think having RFK and some of these guys in here, I think Elon Musk, it's crazy the witch hunt that now is on Elon Musk, who is literally one of the most intelligent individuals, maybe the greatest entrepreneur of our time.
Yeah.
Everything that he's done as far as his education and his work has been to better mankind, further advance technology and human ability, and he's been willing out of his own pocket to help all over, not just America,
He's
but
working
the world.
for free.
Correct.
Right? Not that he needs the money, but
And everybody loved him, right? And everybody believed in it, Elon Musk, until now he's been brought into the government and he is being put to work against a lot of the establishment. And it's quick to see just how fast they're trying to cancel him. Celebrities are getting rid of their Teslas and getting off of X, and it's like...
Yeah. But, and it's funny too, and it's not just one party that they're finding this waste and fraud. It's both parties. It's a great majority of the liberal system. They fund themselves with these things. But there's Republicans involved in this too, and hopefully they catch them all. Nobody gets off. Everybody that's been cheating the system, getting rich off of the taxpayers. Let's see it all. Throw it out there. It doesn't matter what party you're in. Let's clean it up. And that's one of the reasons why somebody like Elon has to do it, because the government, Congress isn't going to do it. They're the ones doing it, right? So they're not going to police themselves on this. It's got to be somebody independent outside, and it's Musk.
No doubt about that. So we'll keep an eye. There's no doubt it's going to continue to look different. There's going to be headlines all over the place, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse as much as we can. But anyway, a couple other things going on locally. I saw this morning on my way here to Slumberland, the toll booth that they're taking down. Man, they've made major progress since that snow has started to melt on Monday. I got a couple updated videos, one from a couple weeks ago when they first took that roof off, right? And they laid that down, and now you notice neither of the booths are there. So they're moving quickly, and I did want to note, if you see this before Thursday, the 27th, from 8 to 3, TT will be shut down. So route TT, for those of you that use it
Thursday.
February 27th,
Okay.
8 to 3, saw the sign this morning. All right, wanted to talk a little bit about basketball. Now, before I move into that, if you're wondering about what our topic is for next week's, let's talk. Listen, I'm a big hot wing guy, right? And so I want to know, who has the Lake's best hot wings? So I'm going to go on a search. There's some places that I love, but I'm not going to share those. I want it to be non-biased. I want it to be you guys. We're going to tally up the votes, right, and see who has the most in the top 2 on who has the Lake's best hot wings. I'm going to go try, and I'm going to give you a review.
Nice.
So let me know, and if you want to participate, you got to go like the Lake TV page and the William Holtz Lake TV page, because we put that on our Facebook thread. But I'm interested to see who people think has the Lake's best hot wings.
Yeah, that'd be great to know because I think we all do love good hot wings.
And I want to share like a couple places, but I think they're going to come in the comments, so I don't want to sway anybody, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So that'll be cool. That is part of our new Let's Talk series, trying to increase engagement with you guys, our viewers. So, all right, basketball, March right around the corner. And as far as high school basketball, some local teams having pretty good years. And when Lake TV, if you didn't see it, Tuesday night was our final regular season game of the year, Osage at Camdenton, right?
Friday we've got Battle at Camdenton.
Two
That's a makeup
Camdenton
game.
games, that's right, with the reschedule.
Yep.
So as the regular season winds down, you look at the records of some of our local teams, and man, I'll tell you what, the Osage boys team, 18-6, they had Camdenton Tuesday night. Don't know the outcome there, but that team, they could make a run.
Yeah, they could. The most wins in the Osage program in 16 years.
Wow, that's hard to believe.
Yeah. So, and of course, first-year coach Jeff Henshaw, he took over from Hall of Fame coach Craig Engelbrecht. Coach Engelbrecht left him a lot of great players. Thank you, Coach, for that. But Coach Henshaw's father was the head coach at Osage like 20 years ago. Yeah. So it's kind of a family thing, and it's really great to see what's happening there.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see Osage at Camdenton because when we recorded it, the game hadn't happened yet. And then Camdenton floating about 500, Eldon and Versailles down a little bit. But on the girls' side, you've got Max Creek and Tipton both having huge seasons.
Yeah, both those teams, the Max Creek girls and the Tipton girls, ranked in the top 10, ranked in the top 5. Both teams have the opportunity to go to the Final Four and play for possibly a state championship. The Max Creek girls have a much tougher road. They're in a district that's got a couple of top 10 teams just to get through the district. So that's going to be hard. We love that team. So many of those players, we've done their games for the last 3-4 years. You used to coach some of those players. The Tipton girls, they won a state championship 2 years ago, lost to the state champion in the Final Four last year. They're on the road to a showdown with that Skyline team for a state championship again this year. I'm so excited. I go to those every year, to the state championships.
Sure.
Looking forward to it this year.
Yeah, and if you watch this week's Central Ozarks Medical Center high school basketball coaches show with Uncle Chris, you'll catch the Tipton head coaches. And like you said, Jason Culpepper and the girls' side, they've been there, right? Final Four last 2 years. They've already won a state championship 2 years ago, and this year a real good shot. So we'll keep you posted on that. And I always get excited because the district tournament's always cool. But when you go down to that state tournament, man, you love that.
I do. I'm literally down there almost every day of the state tournament, all day for like 10, 12 hours, just watching game after game. And for me, that's like heaven. I love that. That's like my favorite thing in life is to go and do that.
And I'll be able to join you here in a couple of years again because that used to be our tradition.
Yeah.
And then I had a little one in these first few years, pretty precious.
Kind of have a family you got to take care of now.
No doubt. All right, so we'll keep you posted. Always love this time of the year, but it also is college basketball.
Yeah.
And man, I got to say, every year, even when they're not in the tournament, I pick them to win the tournament, my Missouri Tigers.
Yeah. That's why I always beat you in the bracket, because you picked them. Yeah.
But look at this. I mean, 20-7. I'm going to go ahead and give them the win against South Carolina.
Okay.
So let's say they're 21-7 and 10-5 in the SEC. A year ago, Mizzou went 8-24. 0-18 in SEC play, one of the greatest turnarounds in college basketball history, at least of my memory, being a Mizzou fan. They've never had this big of a turnaround. And you look at the SEC, what a conference, right?
So good.
9 ranked teams, as many as 12 this season. Right now, Lenardi has 12 or 13 teams making the big dance from the SEC. And they've got 4 of the top 6 teams: Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama. And if you look at Missouri's remaining schedule, after South Carolina, they're at Vandy, at Oklahoma, and then in the regular season, at home against Kentucky. They've got a realistic shot to get a double bye in the SEC tournament.
That'd be great. They have earned it. And you're right. What a turnaround from last year when they did not win a single conference game. And this year, they're ranked in the top 15.
This is the best Missouri basketball team
Yeah.
they have had since I've been a fan. They've got the most balanced. 8 players average 5 points or more. No one averages over 13.8 points a game. 5 players average 8 or more. This team is so athletic, so much more gifted than I've seen teams be historically. I'm excited for the SEC tournament that starts March 12th, and we'll, of course, keep you posted. We may have a really cool SEC or NCAA tournament bracket challenge. So stay tuned. As for Uncle Chris and myself from Slumberland at the Lake, that's a wrap for this week's Cup of Coffee.